de leur présence et participation à cette cérémonie. Merci beaucoup.
J'aimerais évidemment saluer tous nos chefs et dans un premier temps reconnaître que nous sommes dans un territoire traditionnel non cédé à la nation iroquoise. So I feel privileged, humble, and honored to be here. And I'll tell you why. This totem is the link between people, between nations. In a former life, I was one of the first ministers who started the negotiation and the healing process regarding residential schools. I've been myself through a healing circle in Calgary, where my brother Phil Fontaine also was a victim of the residential school. Mr. Joseph, to come here today is a very important moment for mankind. This is not a very nice moment for the history of Canada. But in Montreal, we believe, like in Canada, in the living together. We are putting up together right now what we call the metropolis of reconciliation. To reconciliate, we need to recognize. When we recognize, we don't revisit, but we acknowledge what happened. And this is the beginning of the healing process. I'll say a few words in French for my own people, if I may. Il est essentiel et important que ce moment soit aussi perçu comme un trait d'union. Nous célébrons le 375e anniversaire et je salue Madame la Présidente, Madame Desmarais-Chrétien, Monsieur Gignac. Quand on veut célébrer ou on veut commémorer, on doit aussi reconnaître. On doit se rappeler d'où on vient, on doit se rappeler qui nous sommes. De Jeanne Mance à Paul de Chemédé de Maisonneuve, on avait déjà mis en place tout ce qu'on appelle le vivre ensemble. Au fil du temps, est arrivée une tâche épouvantable dans l'histoire canadienne des pensionnats autochtones. Nous avons un artiste, nous avons une victime de ces pensionnats et ce totem qui représente un arbre de 1000 ans, qui a une âme en tant que telle. Toute la douleur et le processus de guérison que l'artiste a vécu en sculptant ce totem. C'est vraiment un privilège pour nous aujourd'hui, pour Montréal, pour la métropole, terre de la Grande Paix de 1701, où les 39 nations autochtones et les Français ont décidé ensemble d'établir cette paix. Le 375e anniversaire, fort de ce totem, sera aussi un symbole fort de cette réconciliation et de cette métropole de réconciliation. So, I'm really humble in front of you, sir. I think that you're an amazing person. We understand all the sufferings that you live. We understand that through that totem, that this is the link, the bridge among nations. And I praise you for that. And please forgive us for the past. And clearly we are looking ahead and we all work together in that tremendous healing process. Kwai, merci beaucoup.
Merci. Thank you very much. Just kind words. And again, for Canadians as a whole, this is a unique time in Canadian history where we can learn from those people that have experienced residential school. A very good friend of mine, Senator Murray Sinclair, said that this is a wonderful time, but it's a short window as well. And like all windows, they can close fairly easy. Let's not let that happen. Let's take the opportunity to have a conversation and really understand the truth part before we get to reconciliation. The truth part is this poll. And from the hereditary chiefs in the Kwakwaka'wakw community, quite often this was done through stories and verbally shared and transferred. The Supreme Court of Canada recognized that that's one way that Indigenous people in this country have rooted themselves to their ancestral lands for thousands of years. The beautiful thing about telling stories is that's all we are. How can you explain yourself in the world without telling a story? Thomas King says. My brother, in the last 25 years that I've been part of his life, today was the first day in the morning at breakfast I watched him smile as he had his glass of milk and ate his cereal. First time in 25 years I saw my brother smile. This story comes from him, it's not from me, although I was asked by the hereditary chiefs to write this down, both for the museum, and so this story will always stay on the side. The story is about a special Kwakwaka'wakw pole carved by Charles Joseph Sr. The artist would like to note that this is a contemporary form of sharing in a written form. Historically, our people shared the old ways, person to person, sitting in council with careful consideration of our oral history. As a Lakwalis, that's what they call us Mohawk people, the Lakwalis, people that live on the other side of the mountains, I am honored and humbled to write this for my adopted brother Charles Sr., in hopes, first, that I do justice to this profound story. The purpose is to share with society the story of all children who attended residential schools in this country. They are our relatives and our people. They will see this pole, and with purpose of its creation, I only pray that I can tell this as Charles intended. As 2 years went by and we sat and carved this pole, each part of this pole had a significant story for Charles. The dream unfolded in several stages, from the wild woman, right beside me, welcoming home the children who attended St. Michael's Residential School on Alert Bay, to Kulus, up on the top. The dream was to dedicate this totem pole to residential school legacy and the journey of rediscovery that every individual Indigenous person in this country is on today, including myself. Our people seek not only healing, but a path that is often guided by cultural teachings and the wisdom of our elders. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to tell the stories any longer. Charles had a powerful dream, a vision to work together as a group of people, healing and relying on the wisdom of his teachings and relatives of his ancestors. The work involved in creating a totem pole is equally as powerful. Together, the dream and its creation was a challenging work, all while dealing with a delicate subject. Having to relive experiences at every moment as he carved the pole is no easy task. Yet surrounded by some of the most dedicated and talented young people and carvers, this totem pole is a true reflection of what the future can be. Each of the animals represented on the pole have a unique story and offer a pathway of understanding. The healing process from an Indigenous perspective and a worldview, the importance of healing self, the value and wisdom of the ancestors, and the story will go on and on and on. As it stands here on the street, every individual that passes by will be able to read and hear the story. At the bottom is Zunakwa. In English, she's known as the Wild Woman of the Woods. Zunakwa is surrounding the residential school children, and she's taken them back to the world of our ancestors. It was her intention to protect them before they were taken away. Her role was to take care of the children, and the hope that they wouldn't be taken away from their families. Zunakwa struggled diligently to keep the children safe as she watched the mothers and fathers look on as the government, the churches, the RCMP took all of our children. Next to Zunakwa is the whale. The whale is surrounded by many faces faces representing the young children that were adopted or taken from their families. As shared, the whale surrounds the world and travels often from ocean to ocean. This part of the pole gives life to all those children taken, and as adults, the whale seeks the spirit to provide survivors with healing. Upon returning home, the children were often not welcomed by either their families, and they were lost. Hence, the whale took care of all the lost children, safely bringing them back home. On top of the whale is the raven representing the trickster. In a lot of indigenous cultures, the raven is trickster, the one who tricked the people to be taken away by the churches, being molested, destroying our language and culture. The religion took away our highest ranking people, the ones who took up religion, and many more were jailed and shamed for who they were and what they believed in. In Kwakwaka'wakw culture, the raven is the trickster, and the raven reminds us about the trick that residential school did to our people in the process of attempting acculturation and assimilation. The survivors need not be blamed for how the pain that was inflicted on them in the process affected their lives or the lives of their descendants. This pole will let all the negativity go. Pain or sorrow, it will allow us to reconnect with our families, our histories, and what is rightfully ours. The next is the bear spirit. This part of the pole represents all the children that never made it home. Their faces are white. Some of the young children never had a chance to say goodbye to each other. Let alone their families. For all the children who died in the school, the ones that never made it home from St. Michael's or other schools in Canada, the bear spirit will be there to take care of them. The northern fox above that, the artist said, had some very dear friends from the northern communities. They all shared the same experience as Charles. The fox is a representative of the storyteller of the northern people. And it was also the first story that Charles heard as a young boy. The fox honors those stories and the young person named James Cook, who spent days helping Boone carve and watch the pole's creation. The single face that's there is James,